Hey, this is Remington from Palais Royale, and you're listening to Rock Sound Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Rock Sound Podcast. I'm Will Cross, junior editor at the magazine. Joining me, as always, a very croaky Tamsin Wills. How are you?
Hi. We have a problem, don't we, Will?
We do. You're gliding down the water, though, so it should be all
yeah,
right.
I've got lots of water to see me through. Basically, what happened is me and Jack went to see Mayday Parade at the weekend, and they played a lesson in Romantics and Fall. And I got very excited, so much so that I sung so loudly that I've now lost my voice.
Sign of a good time, though, yeah?
I had the best time of my life.
Amazing.
Literally. So did Jack, I think you can confirm.
Here he is, Jack Rogers.
Hello. I had a brilliant time because it was my birthday, and it kind of hit me at some point halfway through that I was watching Mayday play on my birthday, and yeah, there was a few points where it was just like, it was amazing.
Nice. Big up. Well, last week we had an absolutely stacked show. We had Will Gould from Creeper, Lights, and of course Bert McCracken from The Used. Really, really good response online. Subscribe to us, write us a review on iTunes. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know your favourite interviews. This week we've got an absolute blockbuster of an episode. We've gone and got Mr. Alex Gaskarth of All Time Low to talk to us about all things Last Young Renegade. So Wrong It's Right, Don't Panic, and all other manner of things. So stay tuned for that. We've got a return from Mr. Awsten Knight of Waterparks to talk all things album 2. Ton of exclusives, so if you're a Waterparks fan, very much stay tuned for that. And a bit like Patty Walters a few weeks ago, we previewed this last week. You've been asking for him for weeks and weeks and weeks, pretty much since we started and launched this podcast. Frank Iero has finally come on the podcast. So we chatted to him about everything with his new EP, his Parachutes album that came out last year, and just what it's like to be a super influential artist in both our world and just the music world at large. So yeah, get involved. But Tamsin first, the news.
This is going to be interesting. So in another new interview, Jared Way has said there are no My Chemical Romance reunion plans. But the band have got back together recently and everyone's in a great place, they're really good friends. And in his words, he says, it was wonderful. If you want to hear more about what he said, go to our website, rocksound.tv. Black Veil Brides have announced that the new album Veil will be released on January 12th. You can listen to tracks My Vow and The Outsider online now. There will be no Vans Warped Tour UK this year, which I'm very sad about. Please come back next year. Marilyn Manson was injured at a show in New York. Shows that were scheduled from October 2nd to October 14th will be rescheduled, but we hope he's okay and recovering well. Tonight Alive have cast fans in a new video shoot that took place on Monday. So excited for their new music and to kind of see what comes from the video and everything else that's coming up. Creeper will release a mysterious book called The Last Days of James Scythe on November 30th. You can listen back to last week's show for more on that and from Will. Chase Atlantic have dropped a live video for drugs. I was going to say drugs and candy. I've got All Time Low on the brain.
I thought you were going to say drugs and cats there.
I mean, drugs and money, which is a total banger. I've got All Time Low on the brain. So bad. And Rome will be bringing Stand Atlantic out on tour in Europe next month. Stoked for that.
Oh man, so stoked.
Should we go on a Euro road trip, guys?
Oh yes.
What, like all the way across, like every single day?
Yeah, let's just follow Rome and Stand Atlantic around.
Jump in the van.
I mean, me and Bonnie have got some dancing to do. So.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Flat fair, yeah.
Like, that's just not a one-night agenda. That's
definitely into that. So, interview one. Speaking of drugs and candy, we've got Mr. Alex Gaskarth on the show. So, super massive interview. Obviously, we know you guys out there love All Time Low. We love All Time Low. Huge year for the band with Last Young Renegade. So I brought all that to Alex, and we had a chat about the arena tour that's coming up early next year in the UK with Pierce the Veil that we spoke about on the podcast a few weeks back. Absolutely amazing, so excited for that. 10 years, of course, of So Wrong It's Right, and where the bits and bobs of that album are going to make it into the set. And also 5 years of Don't Panic as well. We spanned the entire All Time Low kind of career in this chat, and just to get a little bit of information on what he thinks on that album as well, because the album doesn't get talked about so much in the light of things like Soronics, right? So it's super interesting. So yeah, here we go. My chat with Alex Gaskarth of All Time Low. Thank you for taking the time for coming on the podcast.
Oh yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me.
So I just kind of wanted to talk about the tour you've just announced with Pierce the Veil. Is this something that you've wanted to do for a while, and are you really excited to be bringing this to the UK?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that we kind of discussed pretty much right after we finished our tour with them years ago called Spring Fever Tour in the States. It was always sort of a thing that we said we would love to take overseas and do more of. And it's just been one of those things where like the cards and the stars and all the things that have to align to make that happen have not aligned, until now. It's been they had a record to put out, we had a record to put out. Everybody's been in different places, but it's awesome that it's finally worked out. Those scale rooms are always an opportunity to kind of make it a thing, have some spectacle to the show rather than just watching a band play on stage. So, we definitely want to make it translate, and we definitely want to put an emphasis on the new record and making the dynamic of that record really kind of shine in the rooms. And then also, we have a song with Vic, so it's exciting to have him there to potentially be able to do that with us on stage and just throw some curveballs that a lot of people don't, always get to see at every single show. So I think it'll be a really special night from, a collaborative standpoint and a production standpoint.
Amazing. And what's it like as well when you guys tour? I mean, is there kind of a bit of friendly competition? We be kind of like trying to outdo each other each night or that sort of thing? What can we expect? Will there be kind of a lot of kind of that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm not going to lie and say that, they don't make me want to play better every night. I think I remember that from the Spring Fever tour that we did with them. They put on such an amazing show and had like all this really cool production and just really delivered. They brought it every night. And so it really made us want to step up our live show and make sure that we felt like we were putting on, just as good of a show as they were, so I think he kind of had both bands firing on all cylinders, which is good. It's that sort of like healthy competition that suddenly gets like everybody on, dialed up and locked in and focused. So yeah, it'll be good.
Awesome, cool. I can't wait, man. And you mentioned as well, obviously, like Vic's on A Love Like War. So there's a potential that we might be seeing the two of you sharing the stage literally as well.
I hope so, man. I mean, I can't speak for him. If he tells me no, then that's on him. But it's the potential is certainly there. So I think it would be a shame not to capitalize on that moment.
Amazing, cool. So as well, because it's the 10th anniversary of So Wrong It's Right just happened, literally like the end of last month. You've announced special shows in the US as well. Could we be seeing maybe a little bit of a celebration of that album in these shows as well, like maybe some deeper cuts that we don't always see live from you guys from that album?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's definitely something we've got on our minds, and I think going into these 3 shows in the winter that we're doing in New Jersey, we'll sort of like tap into that a little bit and maybe get some ideas kicking around for how we could carry it into the next year. And, I think in general, it's one of those things. It's an opportunity for us to do a really, a complex show with a lot of movement and a lot of different, show off all the eras of the band. And so, I expect that we'll probably come out and play a pretty long set every night. And that gives us, more of an opportunity to go deeper into some of the albums. And I'd say that we come to the UK probably, more than a lot of other places. So a lot of these people that are coming to these shows have seen us, 1 or more times already. And I think it would be a waste of time for everybody if we came over and did the same old thing. So, there's definitely going to be a lot of moments for us to play some stuff that, maybe people haven't heard live before or throw it back a little bit. That'd be a lot of fun.
Oh man, that's so cool. Because with Last Young Renegade, it's your career's been a real evolution. And did it feel like on So Wrong It's Right? Obviously, it's Last Young Renegade is a very kind of brave, bold album. You've really kind of experimented with a lot of sounds and done a lot of things that were quite left field and really pulled them off. Does it feel that on So Wrong It's Right was that kind of the start of where you started to do some sort of experiments and that sort of thing with your sounds? Obviously, you had a song like Remembering Sunday on that album and things like that. Was that kind of where that experimentation really kind of started to blossom?
I think so. I mean, before that, we really just had 2 releases, and it was an EP that was very much like up tempo kind of pop punk songs, like the bread and butter of All Time Low on the EP. And then before that, it was like a self-released full length that was, again, kind of, not entirely, but somewhat one dimensional as far as like what we were trying to do. So yeah, I think it was like the first album where we did take a couple risks and tried a few things. And there's Remembering Sunday is like more of a ballad song, which we had never really done before. And then there was also, even back then, I mean, Poppin' Champagne was weird for us, taking it down. Like now it's kind of a staple song for All Time Low, but back then, I mean, anything at that tempo, anything under 180 was like 180 BPMs was weird for us. So, there were definitely some calculated risks that we wanted to take. And I think that's always been sort of a thing for this band, from album to album. There's always one or two songs on every record that don't sound like anything we've done before, I think. And I think we always make a point to try and do that, to continue to evolve and not become old hat, and I think it went to more of an extreme on this record. I think there's more, on the new record, I think there was more of that kind of the different songs and trying new things, because I think we're in a place now where we can afford to do that a little bit more as far as like, people are ready for some change. But yeah, back then I think that really did kick off, how we thought about approaching our records creatively.
Awesome, yeah. Because how do you feel listening back to that album now? Like, are you proud of those moments? Like, is it an album that you're still really proud of?
Absolutely. I mean, it's impossible to not be proud of a record that 10 years later has now been certified platinum. Things like that. It's pretty nuts that those things can happen over time like that, and it's become such a staple, in how our career developed, and the fact that people are still diving back into our back catalog and falling in love with some of those older songs is great. It's hard for me to look back and not also critique and be like, man, what were we thinking there? And I wouldn't do that now, and stuff like that. But I think that's just part of being a creator in general. It's impossible to not kind of overanalyze everything that you do, in hindsight. But it's super important for us as a record, just in terms of what it did, the doors it opened, and the trajectory it kind of put us on, and the path it put us on.
Yeah, for sure, man. As well, and with Last Young Renegade now, does it feel like you're saying, it's you've probably kind of pushed those experiments like more than ever before, because you're kind of in the position to be able to do that now. Like, does it feel like a real milestone for the band? 'Cause it's been with us for a good few months now. How does it feel now that people have the time to absorb it and take it in?
I think it's been really cool watching its growth and its development. When it first came out, and with some of the first songs that we put out, I think it was pretty polarizing. A lot of people weren't sure what to make of it, especially being that like Dirty Laundry was the first song people heard, and they didn't know where we were going with things. It wasn't really something that we had done before. And so that got a little, that can get a little bit scary when some of the initial reactions are like, whoa, this is not what I, expected. But then a lot of people really settled into it, even people, I think that were expecting us to do more of a pop punk album or whatever. I even saw a lot of those people kind of coming around to it and realizing, what we were trying to do. And I think it's at that point that people start to appreciate it for what it is. And it's been awesome. I think one of the coolest things is how well it's been received live. Getting in front of people and actually playing those songs at the shows has been super rewarding, because it's some of the louder moments in the set as far as people singing back to us. And I think that's very valuable these days in a world where like a lot of music is becoming background. It's really cool that people were willing to dive in and listen to the whole record and not just fixate on one song here and there. It's awesome. I feel really lucky that we have the fan base that we have, that it's there for the big picture rather than just like the one single off the record, which I know is something that a lot of bands sometimes struggle with.
Amazing, yeah, because there's something I've found the more I've kind of absorbed the album over the past few months, in that it really starts to really reveal itself the more you listen. So was that very much the kind of the idea, in that it's bits of it obviously are like super instant, but as a full body of work, it really reveals itself the more you invest. Was that kind of what you'd hoped for it as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think at first it wasn't as intentional as that. Like, we didn't know exactly what we had until the songs started coming together and we started piecing the album together. But it was like about halfway into the process that we realized it felt like it was an album that had more of a big picture going on. There was more to it than just here's 10 songs. So it's like it's a body of work, and it's kind of meant to be absorbed that way and processed that way. I think, like you said, there's plenty of songs that can kind of do their thing on their own with one or two listens, but there's definitely a lot of texture to it and a lot of layers to it, and we spent a lot of time tweaking and making it something that would take people on a bit of a journey if they wanted to put that kind of time into it.
Amazing,
especially for a short record. Like you don't want to make a record that's just over half an hour and have it be like, have it have no depth or dynamic. It was really important that because of the length of the record itself, there was still a lot to connect with on multiple listens.
Amazing, yeah, and you definitely hear that. And I mean, as well, you were saying before that so were there some nerves as well before it was released, and when you started to kind of release the songs and things like that? Were there still at this kind of this huge milestone moment in the band's career? Were there still some quite tangible nerves then?
Yeah, man. There's always nerves when you're making new music and about to put out new music. It's like how could there not be? It's always we don't want to fail, and we want to make our fans happy, and we want people to keep coming to the shows, and it's that a bad record can sometimes be the end of things for artists. So especially taking a bit of a turn with some of the songs and things like that. It was definitely a little bit more of a calculated risk on this one, but at the same time, it's like I said before, we don't want to be old hat. We don't want to be the band that keeps making the same record over and over and over again 15 years into a career. And, I think then it just gets a little bit sad. Like, what are you doing it for? If you're not, trying to improve and not even necessarily improve, but just if you're not trying to kind of try new things and challenge people a little bit. I think it's everything in moderation. I think we still want to sound like All Time Low, and we don't want to go so far that it alienates everybody. But it was a cool process, and it really let us grow as musicians, trying new things, with dynamic and sound, and all of those things involved.
Oh man, that's really cool. Now, as well, because you've got the 5-year anniversary of Don't Panic coming up next week as well. How do you feel listening back to that album? Because obviously that kind of comes right in the middle of the new album, So Wrong It's Right. Like, are you proud of that as well? Because again, it was a very kind of sonic left turn at the time for you guys, in parts anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably one of my favorite records we've ever made. I really look at that record as it was an interesting step, because obviously it was, in a way, it was a return to form record for us. We were trying to kind of put the negative connotations that came along with the first major label endeavor behind us, and kind of clear the air and get back to what we know, in a way. But it also felt like the first time we'd put out a record that felt like completely realized and fully thought out. I think before then we were kind of, it always felt like we were sort of piecing records together. And sometimes after the fact, we'd be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have done that quite like that, or whatever. And that record very much feels like one where I can listen to it all the way through and go like, okay, yeah, our heads were in this like 100% of the way through, and we knew what we were trying to do. So that was a big moment for us, I think, as artists and songwriters, just kind of learning our craft and sort of, in a way, perfecting it. I don't think we're ever perfect, but just getting it right. That one really felt like we tapped into something there.
Just to finish up then as well, you've also done a song with Lindsay Sterling for a forthcoming album. Obviously, you do a lot of co-writing. You're working with State Champs, and we spoke to the Rex recently, who you worked with. How was working with Lindsay? How was that process?
She's awesome, man. I actually I was very lucky to get involved with this project, because I didn't do any writing on the song or anything like that. This is a little bit different, because she basically already had this Christmas record ready to go, and it is a holiday record, so it's a little bit different. It's a lot of fun, and we're good friends, and we have been for a while. And so she kind of texted me out of the blue and was like, hey, I have this song that I think would like suit your voice and suit your style of singing and things like that. Like, would you want to be involved with this? And her and I have talked about collaborating over the years quite a few times, and just because we're always being pulled in different directions, it's never worked out. So the fact that like everything was there and ready to go, and it was it was something for the holidays, which is always fun. It was easy to jump on. She actually sent me the song while we were in Japan, so I ended up tracking the vocal at a studio in Japan. thanks to Taka from One OK Rock, who used their studio. So so we got it done like just before her deadline for turning it in. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and the song's a blast. You know, it's like just kind of a silly, cute Christmas song, which is always a good time.
Awesome. So, really, really interesting, really expansive chat. Tamsin, what are you saying on everything that Alex had to say?
I think that tour's going to be insane.
Oh, man.
And one thing, Alex, if you don't play anything from So Wrong It's Right, I will hunt you down. Because I think it's only fair that if America gets the So Wrong It's Right album shows, that we at least get like 90% of the album.
Oh yeah.
Live.
Well, maybe not 90%.
But yeah, I really love that he what he said about Pierce the Veil, how they like it's really healthy competition. Like they try and better each other every night. I'm really looking forward to kind of see how that comes out. Like if there's going to be pranks, possible collaborations on stage as well. That's going to be pretty insane. And yeah, I think he's just in a with Last Young Renegades being out quite a while now. I like how he was kind of open about being like, I know not everyone really liked it when it first came out, but that like they're aware of that. But I mean, it's definitely for me as well. The album's really, really grown on me over the past few months. Like the more I listen to it, so like fair play to them. Like, and having So Wrong It's Right being 10 years old and still going with Last Young Renegade, like the difference between the two albums is quite substantial, but this like it's still all-time low in both albums. So
yeah, for sure. I think it really shows their evolution as a band, and you know, especially with these shows. I mean, like, I think if you're pulling from all these different places, and you're going to get things like Remembering Sunday up against, you know, Life of the Party, and then also songs like So Long Soldier. Like, it just shows they've done so much with their band and their sound, and that's something that's really, really admirable. And like, it just shows why they're such a huge, influential band. I mean, Jack, I assume you agree?
Oh, always, yeah. Main thing I said is when he said everything in moderation, because like it is easy to forget that. Like, within this, So Wrong It's Right, it's 10 years old, Don't Panic's 5 years old. That's two pretty big milestones for two pretty big albums. And two albums which, from a band who were, like, different levels of maturity, different levels of, like, where they wanted to be with the music. And then when you're pushing that 5 years on to Last Young Renegade, and just the way they're saying, well, this is who we want to be now, and this is, but it's still, as Tamsin said, still being all-time low. Because it is an album which it's still quintessentially that band, even though it's not like pop hooks and three chords. Like, the heart of the band's still there, the attitude of the band's still there, but they've just adapted so brilliantly to what like fans and also the wider world knows of it. Like, there's so many they can jump into a pool of like, well, like, it's what we always say when people try and get pop elements. It's like, it's people can see through it when it's like forced. Like, people go, nah, you're just doing that for, like, whatever reason. But Alex and Jack and Rian and Zach, they understand how to be a band in the different worlds and spread themselves out and communicate to different people. And then to be able to do that and then bring all those people together for this tour next year, where when I've seen All Time Low, when I saw them at the O2, it's like there's kids singing along to the Future Heart songs, but there's kids, like older kids like me, screaming along to Poppin' Champagne. And to bring those people together in such a way where it's not forced, it's not like it's just a very natural thing, and I don't think no bands do it like All Time Low do. No,
I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, and to be able to say before, like, was to be able to talk about Don't Panic a bit as well, with coming up with the 5-year anniversary of that album. Like he said, it kind of it really kind of dug them out of a kind of difficult situation. The album before it, Dirty Work, kind of put them in a bit, and I thought it was really, really canny of him to say. So I'd love to see like more of that album in the set, and like with these shows coming up, maybe we'll get things like To Live and Let Go and Joking on a Lifesaver and things like that. Like, I'd love that so much because it's my favourite All Time Low album. I think.
Well, it's Alex's as well, as he said.
Well, yeah, and yours,
and mine as well. Yeah,
not mine.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see some of that, and I think these shows have the potential to be potentially the show of next year, just because of everything that they're going to be able to bring with this back catalogue that's so wide-ranging and so influential. So cannot wait. Huge shout out to Alex. So much going on with that band, and yeah, just an absolute giant in our world. Awesome. Big shout out to Alex for coming on. Jack.
It's listener questions time.
Is that the jingle?
Well, we're working up to like if I start injecting a bit of like me into it, like someone will like one of the many bands who listen to us as well, they'll go, you know what? He's making himself look a fool. Like we're gonna write that for them. So like,
Yeah, come on, Austin. Yeah.
Austin, Patty, like Joel and Benji, like
Whoever fancies it. Like,
whoever fancies it, just
not picky.
Yeah. So speaking of Patty, someone asked a pretty interesting question. It was luminicity_of_art. It said, how does one become Patty Walters? Which, well, I think it's a very interesting concept, but I think there are a few steps of how you can become Patty Walters. I think at first you've got to cut out the booze, straight up.
Yeah.
Then you've got to cut out the meat.
Yeah.
Then you've got to realise that everything in the world is brilliant. And then you kind of like put on a bit of an American accent. And then like just be so lovely to everyone. Like if you meet someone in the street, give them a massive hug. And then be quite good at singing as well.
You've thought about this a lot, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I was thinking about it. I have thought about it. Like it's pretty foolproof, but I mean I couldn't like be as brilliant. Like I can't cut that out.
But yeah, just dye hair blonde as well, I guess. Like he's kind of done the Ling Gun thing, hasn't he? That like album 2, he's like blonded up. So
almost white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Platinum blonde.
yes.
I mean, I've just put grow a fringe, buy some Converse, and high kick at every given opportunity.
Oh, he can. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's good at high kicking.
Patty
Yeah,
was
He's
yeah.
got a strong high kick, so
Yes.
practice that. Get flexible.
And just to finish off, Alex, spelt with a 1 instead of an L, .182, has asked very simply, brand new or Taking Back Sunday? Taking Back Sunday.
Oh, it's difficult, but take about Sunday.
Take 'em back Sunday.
3-0.
full house.
See, the system works.
Cool, so shop.rocksound.tv. The Sleeping with Sirens bundles are very much still on sale. They will sell out though, so buy them all up before they do. You can go for the Legends bundle, which includes a limited edition cover, of course, done by Tom Morgan, like 5th shout out or something in 5 weeks. Vinyl sticker.
Will, stop it. You're never going to meet him.
Hand signed poster printed by the whole band. Or you can go for the Gossip bundle, which includes an exclusive tote bag designed by Kellen Quinn, and an exclusive pocket mirror. If you like the sound of all of that, you can go for the Super Fan bundle, which includes literally all of it, all the different covers. Absolutely amazing. It's an amazing story about a really, really interesting, brilliant album. Andy Biersack, Seaway, Frank Iero, The Main, so much more inside. Check it all out. Let us know your favourite things, and yeah, get on board. A Spotify playlist as well. Follow us on Spotify. We're updating our playlist weekly. Of course, our favourite, the Rock Sound charts, is an absolute door into the Rock Sound world, and has all the best new tunes from all the bands in our world. We've included it. It's been updated this week with the Hoodie Allen song featuring, of course, Mr. Derek Descanio.
Banger.
Yeah. New Black Veil Brides. Loads of stuff in there. Stand Atlantic, Chase Atlantic, Ask Alexandria, all the big hitters, everything. Check it all out. Follow us on Spotify. Absolutely amazing. And also, the Scuzz TV show is on daily on Scuzz TV. If you want to read along with the magazine, if you want to know all the best new bangers from all the bands that are included in this month's magazine, read along, watch along, get involved. That's on daily on Scuzz. So, interview 2. Awsten Knight, we know you all love him out there. He was on our launch special, a bit of an infamous interview now, if you like. He was absolutely adored by everyone, what he was saying, hilarious stuff that he came out with. So we caught up with him again last week, just before the band sold out show at the Underworld in London, to talk all things album 2, which was a big secret up until recently. So I wasn't kind of sure what he was going to let me know, and I wasn't sure how much he'd come out with about it. But of course, being Austin, he was super cool, super candid, and told me many, many things. So if you're a Waterparks fan, strap in and find out so much about the forthcoming Waterparks album right now. Cool. So, Austin, thank you so much for returning to the Rock Sound podcast.
Got it. I have a whole paper dedicated to me. That's sick. I can't read it upside down like that, but that's cool.
He does, yeah. I've got many things to ask. So, yeah, to get into our second chat, you're in the middle of a sold-out UK tour at the moment. Pretty insane.
It's so weird. This show's sold out. I didn't know how quick, but people from our label out here told me it sold in like an hour.
No
I
way.
was like, fuck. That's cool.
Man.
I didn't think that would happen.
Yeah, no, blimey. So, with that in mind, does that feel kind of like a real pinnacle moment for the band so far?
It's like a relief. The thing is, I have a hard time. This is we're getting too real too quick. I've got a hard time kind of looking at successful things in the moment while it's happening and being like, oh, cool, and being able to sit back, just because there's always so much other stuff to do and so much work to do and so many other things like on my mind, like what's next. But I definitely am able to. It's a big relief. You know what I mean? Because I mean, we did shows for a while, like some years where it was, you know, if we left Houston, you know, our hometown, we could expect to see like 10 people there. You know what I mean? So it's a big relief to know that that's not what's happening overseas. Like they're all sold out. You know, it's really cool.
And you've currently been finishing up album 2.
Oh, it's done.
It's done?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We finished it the day before. Like, so what happened was we finished it, flew out the next morning, went home, packed our shit, did laundry. Actually, reverse that. Did laundry, packed our shit, and yeah, that's it.
Wow. So
It's just like with last year, like when we finished Double Dare, we flew home, and it was either that night or the next morning, had to drive out for a Warped Tour. Like our schedule's just packed always. It's
amazing.
Cool.
That's so cool. I mean, like, because last time we spoke, you said, you know, there might be new Waterparks songs somewhere. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, so you had them under wraps probably around then at the time.
Yeah. We went in with 20 something this time. We didn't get. There's so many though. Like, 'cause the thing is, with Double Dare, we went in with I think 46 songs, and we were able to make 15 total, 2 of them being bonus tracks. If you hear this, try and find What We Do for Fun and Candy, because they're such cool songs, and I wish they made the album. They're on the Japanese version, but they're probably leaked somewhere, so look for it. But this time around, just because we've been touring so much, I haven't had as much time to, you know, sit and demo and do all that. Because I write constantly, but I don't consider a song done until there's a demo of it. And this time around, yeah, we didn't get to do 15 songs, which is a bummer. But everything that's on it's just ridiculous. I love all of it.
Oh man, I'm so excited because you said as well. So you said that, you know, it wasn't going to sound the same. You never want to do the same thing twice. And I remember you saying something about, you know, like you kind of said, oh, it could be indie pop, but it'll still be Waterparks, you know, something like that. So are we expecting a real mixed bag of an album?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I've showed demos to like close friends. I showed actually Chapel, who are on tour with right now. I showed them a few songs the other day, and everyone's just like, "Fuck!" It's just a much like bigger sounding version. You know what I mean? Like there's still like, because I mean, from like for a very long time now, people have. It's funny because people will be like, Waterparks is the shittiest pop punk band ever. It's like, we're not goddamn pop punk. That's fucking why, you dumb asshole. Like. I'm pretty sure I've used this example before, but it's like this is the worst pizza I've ever had, and like, duh, you bitch, we're Chinese food. Like, like you can't expect it to be good pizza when it's not fucking pizza. Like, and I think this album helps separate or like kind of clear that even more. I mean, the songs are just bigger, you know. And we get to do more stuff that we hadn't gotten to before. Like, there's even one song that it was done before Double Dare. That is on this album.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because I loved it, and the first time around it was just kind of like, I don't know if it's time for this one yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this time, you know, I was showing like Benji and Joel and Courtney all the demos and everything, trying to kind of figure out what's gonna make the cut. And they heard that one, they're just like, wait, what is that? I'm like, that's old. Are you kidding me? Like, I showed you that. And so, you know, sat there kind of was like, thank God, because I love this song, you know what I mean?
Amazing.
I'm psyched on that one too, because it's the first time that a song where all the demo vocals are on it.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, we recut some just for like layers' sake, but it's cool because it's like literally what I was like feeling at that exact time, and like it's actually on the album.
Wow, so it's not completely redone then. It's fairly in its original
we
incarnation.
kept everything that was on it.
Oh,
We just,
right,
like,
okay,
layered
cool.
it all up and like
Amazing.
added just it's a lot bigger now.
Wow.
So, I mean, yeah, I can demo all of them, but I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a great. I'm not great at recording. I just, I'm good at getting the ideas down.
Amazing. So are there going to be a lot of curveballs on this? I mean, obviously we've chatted before about getting so many curveballs on Double Dare. It's going to be like that again. Are we going to be hearing some real new sides to the band?
Yeah, for sure.
Amazing. Cool. And you said like we talked about Gloom Boys having almost like a Barbie Jeep riff on it. Yeah. Could we be hearing things like, have you been pulling from unusual inspirations again?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like examples. There's this one song I didn't actually think would be there. I was just like, dude, I want to make like the fucking cutest like Jason Mraz, Michael Bublé song kind of thing ever. And Joel was like, that's one of the biggest hooks you've ever written. And I was like, really? And so, I mean, I liked it, otherwise I wouldn't have made it. But it's always kind of surprising to see what people are psyched on, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for
sure. It was
sure.
cool this time because, I mean, I've got maybe like 5 to 8 friends that kind of hear all the demos and stuff that happen, and everybody had different favorites. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so it's not like there's like 3 songs that are like the clear winners, which is cool. Just because I never ever want there to be filler. I don't think it's possible for there to be, just because so many songs get written and they're all pretty much bangers. Not to be like a dick or whatever, but I mean they're all cool. And but I mean everybody had different favorites, which is cool. And like when I called a couple people to tell them what the final track list was going to be, because they get invested, they start liking certain songs, and everybody was mad. Like everybody understood, but they were just like, but I'm like, well, what would you replace it with? They're like, I don't know. I'm like, okay then. Like,
and like a bit of an infamous moment as well. You mentioned some diss tracks potentially.
yeah.
Austin's eyes have lit up. I take it they've made it then.
They did make it, yeah. Some people are not happy about and the thing is, nobody that's actually in the songs has even heard them yet. I don't even know if they will, but fuck those people. Yeah, like I was like, the thing is, if there's gonna be a diss track, there's no like, you can't pussyfoot around it, you know what I mean? You just have to be like that's the thing. If I'm gonna be like sweet in a song, you're gonna feel like you are just like sick from it. It's like, oh gross, like if you can't handle that kind of thing. If you like sweet stuff, oh dude, you're gonna be psyched. Now if I'm gonna be salty and like shit on someone or something or whatever, it's gonna be real,
So
like,
you went in.
Right, like I don't like when bands or anyone in general can or when they're like, man, we're gonna tell the fucking truth on this album, like that kind of thing. They're like, we're really gonna hit home with some people, and then it's just vague stuff. Like, it's not like that.
Wow. Okay.
Like, it's just, you can look at other genres and you don't necessarily have to pull influence from them sonically, but attitude wise you can. Like pop artists can have unapologetic hooks, I mean, they can just be painfully catchy, and it's a good thing. It works for them. Rappers can start shit with people all the time, and it's a norm, you know what I mean? And I think part of like the appeal is that it's kind of like a dangerous thing to do, you know what I mean? Because you're actually going for people, and so that's what I did.
Wow. So there's an element of danger to this album then.
Definitely that track, but yeah, I mean,
amazing.
It's everything always kind of feels weird just because this is more just internal, like for me, but I mean, it's all extremely real shit for me, and like I don't like talking about my emotions a lot, openly anyway, and so it's weird to put them out there like that, you know what I mean? It's like if I'm pretty much being, I guess, like the most open I'll be in songs, and it just kind of also rhymes.
Amazing. I can't wait to hear that. I guess we'll go to the flip side of that then. You mentioned that there's a kind of duality as well, in that there's some very, very sweet stuff.
Yeah.
On there. And we talked about Take It to the Moon last time, and you said that was really kind of Carlile inspired, and you wanted to go all out pop. Is that in that realm?
There's definitely a lot of electronics. There's tons. It's kind of funny. A lot of the ones that are full on electronic are actually a lot more dark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I guess would be the opposite of Take Her to the Moon.
Amazing.
You know, just like dark pop.
Amazing. That's very, very cool. So in terms of, as well, doing the album, you essentially did the album in secret. Was that because you just kind of, you wanted to keep that mystique to the band, you know, and you kind of,
I mean, you don't want, I didn't want, I mean, I already kind of stopped looking at replies and stuff on Twitter and like mentions or whatever, comments and stuff. And I feel like if people knew an album was happening, I would see the expectations, and I'd much rather just sit quietly in my room and just be like, make songs, you know what I mean? And then, yeah, actually, speaking of that, this was the first time the entire thing wasn't written in my room. I got an Airbnb, like, in California for a month. It was actually our, right after, what was it, the All Time Low UK tour, I think?
yeah.
Yeah, like, whenever it looks like we have a month, we don't. For, like, as soon as I got back, I think I had, like, a day or two, and then went out there and wrote and demoed, like, maybe 8 more songs.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to see what would happen, because, you know, every release has been done at, like, it's been written at my desk.
Yeah.
You know, like in Houston. And the thing is, I didn't want to go and try, like, 'cause sometimes when people want to, you know, hit different sounds or whatever, they involve a whole lot of people and do all this. But, you know, again, there's no co-writes on this album. It's just, like, the band.
So the album felt very organic in the way you put it together,
like,
then.
The thing is, a lot of people, when they're talking about their albums, they're like, you know, it almost tore the band apart. This was the easiest thing ever. You know, it was just natural. It's like, made the songs, went in there with the people I trust, did it. The end.
Amazing.
Yeah, like, it was the only, like, if anything was to be hard about it, it's just looking back at some of the darker things, you know, or, like, things that I didn't like writing about, like, the more negative things, and having to kind of, it's weird to kind of put it like this, but it's sort of similar to, like, acting. You know what I mean? Not saying I'm an actor or anything like that, but it's like I would notice after tracking the vocals on one that's, you know, about, like, some shit that I just didn't like, or, like, a bad time or whatever, I noticed that for at least a few hours after vocals, I was like, why do I feel really depressed right now? Like, I feel like I'm in, like, a funk, like, and I was like, oh, like, that makes sense. Like, you have to kind of put yourself in that place, because it still needs to be genuine. You know what I mean? I can say it was easy to, you know, do the guitars or whatever, or, like, but, you know, as far as vocals go, like, it has to be genuine. You know what I mean? Like, you actually, oh, I sound lame as shit right now. Sorry.
No, not at all, not at all. No, so it was, apart from it being a very easy process production-wise, it was a challenge to, emotionally.
Yeah, like, emotionally doing certain things or singing about certain things, or, like, you know, bad times can be kind of emotionally taxing. Which could potentially suck if we wind up doing those ones live. But, you know, comes with the territory. You know, if somebody's expecting a pop punk release, that's not what they're going to get. If someone is going to go into it with an open mind and just look for good songs and, like, you know, appreciate them for what they are, then, you know, I think they're going to really like it.
Amazing. So, yeah, Awsten Knight, talking about album 2. I cannot wait. Like, I think this is a potential monster on our hands, Jack.
Well, yeah. It's, I've been thinking a lot, because we got asked last week in podcast, like, someone asked, what do we think it's going to sound like? And I was still laughing about Tamsin when she just said bops.
Oh,
It's
bops.
just bops. Like, it's just
Bops.
straight up bops.
And he has confirmed that it's
Yeah.
going to be full of bops.
But to hear him actually say it, and then, like, he said that it's going to be full of bops, but at the same time, one of my favourite things he said was that people need to stop calling them pop punk.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was
That was brilliant.
I thought it was brilliant. Like, it's when he's like, oh, this pizza's rubbish when you're eating Chinese food.
Yeah.
You're a bloody genius, mate. Like, yeah, it's like that. And I think that Austin as a person, he's changing his character. He's like going forwards, he's got this persona within like Waterparks as the quirky type who writes quirky songs and does all these things. But I think into this album, it does sound like he's taking things a lot deeper and a lot more seriously. And is that as well? He said when he was like, he's gonna go in on quite a bit, like
the diss tracks.
I cannot wait to hear this diss track.
man.
which I think, like mixing with that, because a diss track for one, it's quite harsh, but then like to do that, you have got to write quite dark and quite like personal.
Yeah, because he seemed like he was going in, but
Yeah.
he's like, it doesn't sound like he said, he doesn't like it when bands kind of say they're going to tell the truth or whatever, and then
Yeah.
they veil stuff up. Like this sounds like it's going to be like full
Yeah,
on like
which-
hip hop style diss.
Which who thought that from like the band who wrote Crave? You
Yeah.
know? Like and I think it's why they're one of the most exciting bands in our world, because they're so unpredictable, like so eccentric, yet so richly, like not richly, but so like vibrant within what they can do. You just can't take a breath. Like anytime, it's like you never know what's coming next.
No, that's it. It's so exciting. I mean, we said that on the launch special as well. And like when we spoke to him then as well, like I wasn't kind of sure how much he was joking about things like the diss tracks and also the Michael Bublé song. But these things are real and they are going to be with us hopefully in the next few months. So yeah, I mean the Michael Bublé bop, especially alongside these diss tracks. This album is just honestly, this has the potential to be something really, really out there. I think Tamsin, excited.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, like one of the things I highlighted was that one song is influenced by Jason Mraz and Michael Bublé. So that's just gonna be hooks for days. That's gonna be the ultimate bop. But what I found quite interesting is the way he was like, we didn't tell anyone that we were writing a new record because I didn't want to go online and see all the expectations, like the new Waterparks record must sound like this. I hope it sounds like this. You need to do this on your record. Like they need to do what they want to do. And I think that's probably a lot of the pressure that a lot of bands face these days is like, you know, they start writing and then they go online and fans are going like, please do this, you need to work with this person. And they're like, oh my god, this isn't what we were doing, but maybe if that's what the fans want, that's what we should do. So I think it was actually a really clever idea where he was like, I just rented a place for a month, I didn't tell anyone on social media, didn't tell anyone at all, and I just went, I wrote, recorded it, boom, done. And which means they've done exactly what they wanted with this record, and there's no co-writes, like everything is from Austin's brain, and we all know what that's like.
Imagine if they just Beyonce'd it.
Oh man,
Just drop it tomorrow.
Well, they've done 13 videos, like the whole story. They made a film.
Made a film. Each one ties into.
Yeah, I don't know what the concept would be.
Austin was walking down the street in a yellow dress, smashing up cars.
that would go viral. It'd be amazing.
Yeah, I could go with that. But yeah, shout out Waterparks forever. I went to see them at the Underworld last week, and I haven't seen a place jump like that in years. What's going to be next?
Cannot wait for this album, and I'm sure there'll be more from Austin very soon. So yeah, big shout out to those guys. Cool. RS shouts this week. So we've already mentioned them on the show. We're going to be speaking to Mr. Frank Iero in a moment. So we thought we'd do the first band-centric RS shout. So this week we're gonna spitball it. We're gonna do the best MCR song. Jack, go first.
You're a cruel man, Will Cross.
Yeah.
First one which comes to mind for me is the one which I go to and I have the most feeling about is Disenchanted of Black Parade, which I think is just a perfect build-up of emotion and melody and just storytelling.
Amazing, yeah. Disenchanted would be my second choice actually, but my first choice is gonna be Cemetery Drive. It's just the ultimate emo like dark heart ballad. Like it's amazing. It's where on the Life in the Murder Scene documentary, Gerard says when they were starting the band that he wanted it to be basically a mix of the Smiths and the Misfits, and I feel that song in particular is just where those two worlds collide in the best possible way. Like the way that the verse is just going to the chorus straight back in, and just like Gerard, like say, just on the best form. I mean, he's one of the best. I'm putting him up there as one of the best frontmen of all time. And that song is just the encapsulation. Like, honestly, if you want a dark-hearted emo ballad, that is the one.
I've chosen Ghost of You.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just the ultimate... Like, for me, it's the ultimate My Chem song, and the video for it, like, matches the emotion of the song so well. Like, I pretty much cry every time I see the video for it.
Man, great shouts all round. Yeah, big up MCR, best band of all time.
I just want to say as well, Vampire Money.
Are we just going to start listing MCR?
No, I just want to say Vampire Money. That's all I wanted to say.
At the beginning of that song.
Like,
No.
Are you ready, Ray? Yeah. How about you, Frank? I think I'm there, baby. How about you, Mikey? Fucking ready. I think I'm okay.
No, he's honestly perfect. Speaking of that, Mr. Frank Iero. So you've been asking him for weeks and weeks, literally since the start of this show. So we've got him. I went and spoke to him on his bus. It was super, super cool. He was absolutely lovely. And we had a chat about everything that's been going on with him, basically. Like Keep the Coffins Coming EP, Parachutes last year, and how those two recording processes overlapped. Really intense. Put himself through the emotional ringer and then some. Really interesting to get into that. And then also just like being an influential artist. And we mentioned bands. We mentioned Waterparks. We mentioned Milk Teeth. And just these kind of all these different bands who look up to My Chemical Romance and Frank as an artist and are taking risks and reinventing themselves with every release like My Chemical Romance did. Really, really interesting, and just talk to an absolute legend like Frank. So here we go, Frank Iero. Awesome. So Frank, thank you so much for joining us on the Rock Sound podcast.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for coming out and doing this.
Oh man, absolute pleasure. So I just wanted to have a chat really about Keep the Coffins Coming. You worked with Albini and how that's come off the back of Parachutes as well, Ross Robinson, and then maybe a bit of a tour and things like that as well. So
Yeah, all is good with me. Yes, to talk about. Yeah, those are some. It's been a crazy year. It really has. I got I've had a lot of opportunities to cross a lot of things off my bucket list, and definitely working with Steve was one of them. Working with Ross was one of them. I mean, unbelievable.
Amazing. I can't wait to get into it. So we'll kick off with Keep the Coffins Coming then.
Okay.
So you recorded with Steve
Yes.
for that. A previous feature you did with us earlier this year, you were saying that, like you say, you just mentioned your bucket list. There was a complete crossing off moment. Take us inside it. Like, it must have been quite intense.
It was. I think the thing about it too was like just finding out, like, all right, hey, let's contact Steve and see if he's even interested and or has any availability or anything like that. And he was interested to do it. And he was like, I got 3 days, this weekend, like, if you can make it out, let's do it. And so I was like, oh, I'm getting a U-Haul. So we got a U-Haul, and I packed up a bunch of equipment and stuff like that. And my brother-in-law Evan and our drummer Matt Olson, like, we all jumped in the U-Haul. And our friend Eddie, who teched for us, like, we drove out to Chicago. And it was like super cold, man. It was like, I think it was February, something like that. And it was unreal. We got in there. You stay in the studio. There's a little room and board, which is great. And you eat, live, breathe the studio. And he's very. What did he say? He said, I have the bedside manner of a walk-in refrigerator, basically. And he, like, it's true, man. Like, he's not like a warm, like, like a guy that's like wants to get in your mix, or like, doesn't want to be part of your band, like wants to be very, like, fly on the wall. But I really feel like that session, working with him, and again, him kind of giving you the power to be like, hey, listen, like, you're not here because you're not good enough. Like, you're here because, like, you write great songs and you know what you're doing. So, like, I'm not gonna why would I tell you how to be you or be your band? Like, I'm not in your fucking band. You know what I mean? That's like, why would I know? And so, like, that it's like, oh wow, all right, that makes a lot of sense. And then you play the first song and then he, like, it's done, and you go, Steve, how was that? He's like, I don't know, Frank. How was that? And you're like, oh shit. Like, you're like, all right, yeah. You know what? Let's do it again. Yeah. And then you do it again, and then you're like, oh man, you start to get that power back, and you feel this confidence take over, which is really, really nice. And I feel like that really helped with finishing writing the whole of Parachutes and going into that recording session.
Amazing. So what was the timeline between the EP and the album then? So they almost happened in tandem then?
Yeah. Well, I'd say that the EP was recorded. February, March, and then we recorded with Ross in June, July. So, like, in between those two sessions is when I finished writing Parachutes, and then went right in and recorded it. So
Cool.
Yeah.
So when you went in with Ross then for Parachutes, to say with the kind of the quite tight time frame between the two records, like with Ross, obviously he's famed for kind of really getting inside people's heads and bringing out that emotion. I mean, to work with Steve and then Ross, like how was that? It must have been a very full-on process.
It was, yeah, man. It was night and day. Ross is so hands-on. He does this thing that he lovingly refers to as mental surgery, and he will ask you questions upon questions about questions about what a song is about, what you're trying to say, why you're saying what you're saying, how it relates to who you're talking to, like to the point where you're like, is there another question you could possibly ask me? And then he does, and he answers that, like he asks that one last question that like totally changes how you think about that song and where it actually stems from. It's so insane. I came to so many realizations in that process about who I am as an artist, who I am as a person. I've never gone to therapy and had that many breakthroughs, let alone a recording process. It was unbelievable, and he and I have stayed close ever since. Like, he's just someone that I genuinely enjoy the company of, and he really, I don't know, man. He helps my brain. He really does. I love him so much. He's a great fucking guy. He's amazing.
Amazing, man.
Yeah.
So did Ross, the two of them really put you through the emotional ringer there?
Oh my god. Yeah. I mean, I think I must have cried like every day. It was insane. It was just like, I was like a baby. I couldn't even, I couldn't hold it together at certain points. But here's the thing. You hear the stories, right, about Ross, and at least my impression from afar was that he was going to be like this imposing figure, like maybe in an aggressive way, and so I was like trying to get prepared for that, but it was not like that, not even a little bit, for at least for us. Like, and I don't know if it's tailored per artist, but for us it was based in so much positivity that I've never experienced that before. Like, I come from a long line of people feeling like they need to break you down as an artist in order to build you back up, and Ross didn't subscribe to that behavior with us. He was like, why would I do that? Like, why wouldn't I just build you up? Like, you're great. Like, let's go up from here. Let's not go down. Like, I'm not gonna berate you and tell you you're not good enough, because if you weren't good enough, you wouldn't be here. And I was like, oh my god, like, I want to hug you. You know what I mean? Like, it was amazing. He was, that process was unbelievable.
That's so cool. I mean, it's like, especially between the EPs and even with looking at Stomach Aches as well. Like, they've all got that Frank stamp on them, but they're all very different as well. And they all kind of stand on their own kind of feet. Is reinvention very important, do you think? Is that something, like, between records, do you think it's very important to kind of try experiments and do new things, and that's something that's gone across your entire career? Is that something that's very important to you as an artist?
It is. I feel like that stagnancy is creative death. I mean, I don't want to do the same thing over and over again. I think that there's a fine line between improving upon something and just kind of repeating yourself. That repetitious stuff, it's masturbation. You know what I mean? Like, honestly. So I'd rather, kind of challenge myself and push myself to do things that scare me, and that's the kind of stuff that brings me the most joy as an artist, is to change things up in that way.
Amazing. So is that kind of been the thinking behind, obviously, because you've changed the like, even the name of the band and like that kind of whole thing, like, and obviously you've had Death Spells and Leathermouth, and it's all been so different. Has that been that way of thinking? Yeah,
I think at least for the solo act, like, the idea is that you go into the studio and you reinvent the band. You change the way you think about music, how you make music, what music means to you, and what you're trying to say. And then inevitably you come out of the studio a different person, a different band, and then you have to call it the same thing. It just seems ridiculous to me. So I thought, all right, well, I guess I'm in a really good position right now, because my name, my personal name isn't going to change, and if it's a solo act, it's always going to be in front of the band name. so I can change the band and keep my name in front of it, and I don't think it would confuse people as much. So, and also too, it keeps me in like that honeymoon period of like, I love starting new bands, new projects, and kind of coming up with the names, coming up with the aesthetic of it, and figuring out what it's gonna sound like. That shit's so much fun, I think if I didn't have that, I think I'd get bored and I would stop.
Yeah, so it keeps it exciting.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
For me, at least, yeah.
And I mean, do you think as well, like obviously, as an influential artist, do you think a lot of bands play it by the book these days? Do you think there isn't enough of that?
I mean, I think it's hard enough without somebody like me coming in and talking shit about things I don't, bands I don't know, But I feel like I think there's a widespread fear of taking chances because like people, records aren't selling, man. Like bands aren't staying around very long because they financially can't fucking afford it, and labels are kind of like just pulling their hair out and drawing straws and dumping bands and picking new ones up and just trying to see anything that'll work, and it's a lot of fear-based activity, and that's sad because are you gonna have bands like Sonic Youth ever again? Are you gonna have bands like like Dinosaur Jr. and Flaming Lips and all these bands that like were nurtured, we're given the opportunity to like explore new things, new soundscapes, like that's what I think we're really gonna miss out on, if we don't support artistry and support bands that we love taking chances. Like maybe you don't get it right away, but I think you should give it a shot, as opposed to just kind of like having 800 discographies in your pocket and skipping through all of them and never listen to any of it.
Yeah, because I mean, like newer bands like Milk Teeth, Waterparks. I mean, they're two vastly different bands, but it feels like they're doing that. It feels like they're bringing in so many different things and doing something different with each release. I mean, is that really cool to see? Because these bands who look up to you as well. Is that really cool to see, kind of in that way?
Yeah, honestly, I back anybody that puts their neck on the line and takes a chance. I'm a fan of Milk Teeth. I love that band. I think they're great guys and girl, and I think I think they write some really great songs. They have some really good equipment. I actually bought a head off of Chris last summer.
Amazing.
Waterparks, I'm not extremely familiar with their music, but I've met them at Slam Dunk, and they were very, very kind, and I think that's awesome. So, but again, like anybody that's out there like doing it because they love doing it and doesn't give a shit like what people think, they're just gonna they do it because they have to fucking do it. I back it 100%.
Amazing. And just like to go back to You Are My Sunshine as well, there's a really interesting way of ending the EP. It kind of felt obviously a Johnny Cash cover, but there was kind of like, as well as having kind of that sort of classic Frank feel to it, it had it's almost reminded me a bit of Bright Eyes as well. Like, was it really fun to kind of put other influences onto another big influence on yourself?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Like, all right, a song like You're On My Sunshine, just a standard song, that hundreds, maybe 1,000 people have covered that song. To throw your hat in that ring and be like, you know what, like, yeah, 600,000 people have covered this song, but this is my take. Like, it's a little bit different, and I have something to offer as well. Like that was really fun to do. It's also a big challenge, man. Like, I feel like those are big shoes to fill, and I've never felt like taking a song that I really love and then copying exactly the way someone else did it. Like, I don't feel any, like, that doesn't make my soul feel good. So, like, if I want to do a song, like, I want to do it in maybe a different way, at least put like my spin on it a little bit, and I think as an artist, like, that's how I would want someone to take my creation. I would want them to be inspired by it and run with it, so hopefully I've made somebody happy and done it a little bit of justice. Yeah.
Definitely have. I mean, and for Frank Iero and the Patients, like, what's the plan going into 2018? I know you're touring heavily to the end of the year.
We are. Yeah, we're touring to the end of the year, and then I say this all the time. but I really mean it. I'm going home, and I'm staying there for a little while, and I've said that so many times in the past, and I'm like, but here's another tour, Johnson. And that's not going to be the case. I actually, I was going against my better judgment, and I started booking things, and I actually ended up canceling everything, and just because it's just not going to work, and I need to like kind of get some time to like, I don't know, be a human being for a little while and figure out what's next. You know, I think I'm going to be creating, but I'll probably be doing it from home.
Amazing. Perfect place to end, Frank. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Amazing, yeah. So it was just so interesting. I think to hear him, what his opinions are on, after speaking to his bands who love his band and his music was really, really interesting. Tamsin.
Yeah, I think Frank's one of those people that, as you said, like so many people look up to him and what he does, and he's kind of separated himself a bit from the whole like my chem emo era, and he is just kind of doing whatever the hell he wants to do, which is fair play to him. And one of the things that really interests me, that he thinks there's a widespread fear in bands in taking risks in the industry at the moment because it's so tough and because labels are dropping bands so quickly, which I think when you've got Frank from My Chemical Romance saying stuff like that, it's kind of like, it's a bit of a wake-up call. I think some people need to kind of listen to what Frank is saying and help a bit, because he's right, the industry is really, really tough at the moment, and it's really hard for bands. Like, if Alex said it, if a band makes a record wrong, that's the end of them. It is really hard for bands at the moment, yeah. And I think a lot of people can take advice from what Frank's done and the emotion he puts into his records, and looking at the difference in what he's created.
Like you say, it's a wake-up call. I mean, like, it's the way that the music industry is stifling bands. It's not allowing them to reinvent themselves with every record and try new things and experiment. And that's why it's really made me appreciate albums like Last Young Renegade by All Time Low and Gossip by Stigmatized, because it really is bands making a definitive experiment and really playing around and changing their sound, just because that's the right thing to do as an artist. So I think that's very, very true. And just in terms of the actual records as well, I mean, working with Steve Albini and Ross Robinson. Steve Albini did things like In Utero by Nirvana. Ross Robinson did things like the self-titled Slipknot album, Iowa by Slipknot, and Glassjaw and all sorts of things. They're two very famed producers for really putting artists through emotional trauma in a good way. So for Frank to have done kind of both within a matter of months must have been super intense, but it shows the lengths that he goes to for art. I mean, Jack, you in agreement?
I think the biggest thing for me from that, and it leads into like who he's working with and the way that he's approaching the music that he's making, he said the Frank stamp, which is just like, it's, even though whatever he's doing, it's going to be like Frank Iero through and through, whether it was Celebration record or the Patience record, or like if he does anything going forward, it's all going to sound a bit like him. But as well, it was him saying how he loves starting the new things and like working with different producers and putting himself through these paces, which a lot of bands when they're starting out will do. Like younger, scruffier bands will work with Ross Robinson and do certain things and be pushed. Well, Frank still wants to be pushed, and Frank still wants to do these things. He don't want to settle for being a legend. He doesn't want to settle with being like the guy from My Chemical Romance. That's why he plays at small venues with this like punk band and plays punk shows and writes punk songs, because he's still excited about the power of music and what music he can make and what music he is in his head. And it's just like building on like what he wants a release to be and what he wants to sound like and how it's going to look and how he's going to look. Like, to be that, like, to have the career that you've had and be a family man, and as he said, like, bless him, he's ready to like go home. Like, I mean, it must be nice, like walking in from tour when you've been out for like a year, like, and to see your family and spend a bit of time away from it. But yeah, to be like someone who is happy to spend that much time away from their family in the name of something that he loves, like, it's wild. Like, I can't think of many other people who are in the position he is who would still be pushing at the level he is, like doing this tour just now and just being him, like not going, oh, I'm just a guy who's playing songs which I've written, not like, look at me, look at all this stuff I've done, like you should be into this. I think it's really awesome, and like just to lead in, like as Tamsin said, people should listen to what he's saying. This world needs people like Frank Iero.
Yeah, and definitely, and I think that is starting to travel through to bands. I mean, especially this year, and we've already spoken about it a lot on the podcast since we've been live. Is that, you know, bands are doing this. You know, obviously it's not across the board, but bands are doing this, and especially really, really young bands as well. Like, you know, bands like Stand Atlantic or Chase Atlantic, or these new bands we've been talking about. They're bridging worlds completely, and that's becoming a real thing. And I think that that's just hopefully going to continue. You know, and I think it will. So a huge shout out to Frank, absolutely amazing, and yeah, just as we say, it's been a bit of an MCR themed episode almost this week, but yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff.
He was complaining about that. Like, someone go, oh, they're talking about My Chemical Romance again. Oh, no one's
going to do that, yeah. Cool, so shop.rocksound.tv, buy the Scene with Sirens bundle, still on sale. You can get the Legends bundle with the vinyl sticker or a hand-signed poster print by the whole band, or the Gossip bundle with an exclusive tote bag designed by Kellen Quinn and an exclusive pocket mirror. Like the sound of all of that, and get the Superfan bundle, which includes all of those things. So shop.rocksound.tv, buy it all up, let us know your favourite bits, get buy-in. Spotify playlists as well, follow us on Spotify. Rock Sound chart is updated every week. We've also got plenty of other playlists, including pop sound, new metal, if you want to delve back into music, learn about music, it's all there. So follow us on Spotify. And the Scuzz TV show is also on daily on Scuzz TV if you want to find out all the new bangers by bands in the magazine. If you want to watch along and read along, do it. It's on Scuzz TV daily. Watch it, let us know your favourite tunes. So come to an end. It's been an epic episode.
It's been mad. Like, I'm knackered.
I'm knackered.
I'm genuinely knackered. It's just like...
Hopefully by next week my voice will be back to normal.
The next week we've got another bumper episode. We're spoiling you guys. It's the American Satan special. So to celebrate the release of American Satan, which of course stars Mr. Andy Biersack and Mr. Ben Bruce, we got both of them to talk all about the film, what you can expect about their respective roles, and working together on an acting job and not on the stage. It's super interesting. So we're going to talk to Mr. Andy Biersack and Mr. Ben Bruce, and also Mr. Jaden Seeley with Confidence, also returning like Austin did this week, talk all things album 2 for With Confidence. So get excited for that. Can't wait. Guys, had a good time?
Oh yeah.
Had a lovely time.
Oh yeah.
See you next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Love you.